crunch time has arrived, and I am shooting to launch in 6 months, or thereabouts. Everything pretty much below the waterline, apart from a transducer, is done. So I think with it, if something happened and I had to launch, I could launch in a week or two. Hopefully nothing happens. Yeah, the crunch has arrived. I'm pretty stressed, to be honest, but please subscribe if you like what I'm doing, and if you care about this boat, subscribe to the channel. That helps me, and it will allow you to be looped in with things that are going to be happening leading up to launch and launch itself. Thank you everyone that has supported me and supported Rosalind throughout all of this. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. Thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to having her out of the shed, seeing her out of the shed. It's been a very long time. And looking forward to inviting as many of you folks as want to be involved to come see, come be a part of what hopefully will be a very nice day. Yeah. So it's a little bit cozy in here, but everything fits. So we have the head, which I'm pretty sure I've gotten to work. Basically combining the parts of 5 of these. Actually, I have 5 of these Junior 51 Wilcox Crittenden bronze-bodied toilets, and which you can't get parts for anymore. They don't make them anymore, but I have enough of them now that I have enough parts. And I've also figured out how to make a number of the parts using 3D printed mold and dies and punches and whatnot for cutting out neoprene parts and things. Anyway, that's pretty much done. We'll have a look at the rest of the plumbing for that in a minute, but we have the guts of the shower, which currently only the cold water is plumbed, because I have a little bit of thinking to do about how the hot water is going to run. As I think I've shown before, fuel tanks, fuel distribution. Also up here is what is going to be the chain locker, actually. Anchor chain comes in through this pipe and is going to get redirected into that drum with the top of it cut off. Which I'm going to make some nice trim to go around the top of, so that it doesn't look quite so awful. But yeah, this is a shower, and I got one of these, I think it's 2x2 plastic grates, which I think I've mentioned before. I hate making gratings very, very much, so I didn't want to do that. Yeah. And then the trim around the doorway into the head is actually milled out of the original keel. So this is English elm, which it's difficult to say exactly how old it is because I don't have the whole tree to know how many rings there were, but it's old. It's hundreds of years old when it was cut 122 years ago. So I really like that I'm able to reuse some of this stuff. As I've mentioned before, I think it really was not up to being a keel anymore, but it's fine in this application. Totally fine. So, yeah. Sole boards, there's a lot more cabin soles than there used to be. That's coming along quite well. It's a mix of larch and white pine. I've really been struggling with this last load of larch. It came to me by way of some local arborists, and it came very wet. Despite my best efforts in drying it, it's dried in all kinds of funny ways. So it's like it's resisting being soulboards, but enough of it has worked out, I think. And then combined with the wet pine, I think it's all right. Also, this lovely wood stove and this slate tiled hearth, which that was a lot of research and a lot of head scratching. There is not a ton of solid information out there about how to do this on a boat that it will be happy with potentially extremely low temperatures, potentially quite high moisture, and also potentially the substrate moving around a bit. But what I landed on was to basically glue down the tiles with this stuff, which is a polyurethane construction adhesive that claims to be able to glue mirrors, so shouldn't have any difficulty with that, I don't think. And then I used a traditional sanded grout, nothing unusual or exotic. But yeah, I'm pretty pleased with how that turned out. And then this stainless steel panel is ultimately going to sort of wrap down the inside face of the frames and lap onto the hearth, and then that transition I'm going to cover with a piece of stainless molding of some sort. Up here we have, this is the guts of the toilet plumbing. I have I think this is 20-gallon waste tank. This comes from the toilet. You've got deck plate pump out. And then if you're offshore, you can use the macerator pump to pump out through this through hole down here. So very simple. I oriented the tank this way. I know that oftentimes waste tanks are oriented so that you can just open a seacock and they gravity drain. I just don't feel comfortable with having fittings on the side or the bottom when it's a waste tank that they could leak through the fitting. That sounds awful. I don't want that, so I didn't do that. Yeah. So, there it is. And then this is another bunk. It's quite skinny at that end, so it's not a bunk for everybody, but it will do for somebody, I think. And then underneath this bunk is going to be storage for power tools. I've got this little ladder that goes out this emergency hatch, and the beginnings of some shelves for storing miscellaneous dunnage.
Engine controls?
Yep. Progress on this little secondary companionway hatch tower thing that leads out of the aft cabin, which is also mounting place for a variety of things, including my brand new engine control panel from the lovely folks at Transatlantic Diesels. Thank you. It is mostly wired in. There's a couple of things. I don't have the alternator yet, so everything that hooks into the alternator isn't hooked up yet, but everything else is. My GPS that was given to me by Danny from up the road. Thank you, Danny. That is not wired in yet, but I'm reading about it. So I also recently pretty much completed the main hatch. which I'm quite pleased with. It's a mixture of yellow pine, black locust, and a mystery tropical hardwood with hinges that came from a barn by way of my good friend Mark Landau. Thank you again for inviting me to come pillage a barn. They're really lovely. And I wanted to note, you will note that the slots in the screws do not line up. And that was intentional because I don't believe in it. I'm putting my foot down. It's called clocking screws, and some folks are diehards about it, and some folks like me think that there are better ways of using one's time. So, have at it. But that's my feeling about it anyway. Steak.